I want to welcome my friend Lola Vanderstrand, Coach Lola, she is known by, to the show. Welcome, Lola.
Thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
Oh, as have I. It's good to talk to you and find out a little bit about you and how you got into coaching.
Well, incidentally, my background is in a very different area. It's in broadcasting. So I studied it and I've been working in it for the past 2 decades. That entails working for Oprah Winfrey and the CBS Corporation. So I really enjoyed that. And I noticed that as I was going along, I was dating toads. And I used that term. But I use it fondly because, not because that they were toads, but because they were not the right men for me. I'm
Right.
sure for other women that would be fine, but for me, they were not quite what I was looking for. And as time went on, I began to settle. And I kept thinking, why is it taking so long to find the right person? I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. I'm getting too old. Do I settle then and just accept, what I'm presented with in the man and then just look for the parts in him that I like rather than what I really desired in a man. So I'm going through all this, and then there comes that moment where it's just you and your divine. And, I cried, I was upset, I was ticked off. I just couldn't understand it. But at that lowest point was an ignition, so to speak. And I knew that I wouldn't have this feeling, this desire, were I not meant to have it.
Mm.
So that started. My life is all about personal improvement, development. So I've been taking courses all along. And I have to say, the courses that I took, some of them were a little, what? There was one in particular that wanted me to marry myself.
Oh, yeah.
So I did that, but then I kept thinking, but I want to marry a real person. I want a man to marry. I want a wedding day and the pretty outfit and everything. So I'm sure I learned something from it. And then there was another course that said to take little Lola out on a play date, go on the
Uh-huh.
swings, play in the sand. And again, that just did not resonate with me. And what I really want, what I desire is to have someone special in my life. And I wasn't shy. I want to get married, and I don't want to have to chase the man or ask him what he wants to do with his life and want to get married. So I had that in my mind, and I started taking courses. I started finding out about how sometimes we have limiting beliefs that we have in our head, or relationships that we've had, or what we
Hmm.
saw our parents go through. So I began to think about all of this, and I learned about affirmations. I learned about mindset,
Hmm.
and I had no idea that it could be that easy. Like, if you could think of something positive, or if you have the mindset of what's possible for you, rather than lamenting about how bad it is and how there are no opportunities, it was amazing when I got into this space. Now, part of my background in media is working behind the scenes. So I record,
Hmm.
commercials and features and promos. So I started with the work that I did with affirmations and, English programming and brainwave entrainment, subliminal. So I started to combine all of that in recordings, and I made all of this for myself, and I would listen to it during the day and at night. And wouldn't you know it, something clicked, something began to happen, and I got to the stage of, it's okay to say no thank you to the
Mm.
toads, I lovingly refer to them as. And very shortly after that, I met the most lovely man who is now my husband.
That
And that's
is
how I got into coaching. I thought, oh my gosh, I love this. And there's something so powerful about wanting to share this, because I've been there. I mean, I know what it's like I'll just stay home, or, just not go on another date. Seriously, really? Or the men that, said one thing on the dating profile, and when you meet, it's just lovely and they say all the right things, and all of a sudden, not a word, not a peep. I
right.
like to tell myself that they went away on assignment undercover, and that's why I didn't hear from them.
Undercover. Yeah, they
That's
sure did.
undercover do me a favor.
Yeah,
I,
exactly. You're on mission. See ya.
I love that. Thank you. I wish I'd thought of it then, though. Undercover seer.
Yeah.
Uh, but anyway,
Bye-bye.
I started to think of how I could help because I've been there and I know what it's like. And
Hmm.
we're all human. And every now and then I do have my moments, when those limiting beliefs come, because we're all only human and it'll always, it'll always be there. So part of what I do in coaching is having audio. So once I get to know my clients, I know what the issue is. And
Hmm.
together we collaborate to come up with, okay, what is it that you'd like from your life? And then we create audio that they can listen to that would hopefully get them on that path and into manifesting.
Yeah. So like, tell me a little bit more about the audio. Like, what does that, what does that look like? What is the process of creating that for a client? Or do you have general ones?
I do have generic ones, but I think the best way is to really get to know the clients. I mean, that's really what I like. I like to dwell into the core competencies of coaching, which is you're there for your client. I mean, you're
Mm-hmm.
in this collaboration of what they'd like to get out of life. So if it's about what they're worried about nowadays, is what's going on with the virus, so we could focus on that. Or if they think there are no men in the world, or they've been hurt before, maybe a man has cheated on them, or they've experienced bad relationships and what their parents or what they've seen. So part of that is really getting to know the clients, really finding out what are these barriers in the way, why isn't it happening? And then together we formulate, okay, what is it that you want for your life, which is the most important thing. You need to know what you want for your life. You need to know what kind of man you're looking for. Do you want to get married? And what kind of man would you want to get married to? And so it's really important to get to know the client. And that's how I base the affirmations that are in the audio. I like to use brainwave entrainment. So it's a way of listening to beats
Uh-huh.
underneath
Oh,
music,
yeah.
and that puts you into this relaxed state. I call it the lazy way to change, so to speak. So all you
I
have to
think
do is,
so.
yes. So because sometimes, you're going about your day, you may not remember to do your affirmations. But, if it's in your list of music that you listen to, or you make a special effort to do it, then it's there. You can just press, play and off you go. But there's something about the audio that I'll create, personalizing what the barriers are and how to get through them.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I mean, I think that is probably one of the most important things, like, is changing your mindset and getting to that subconscious. So I think that you are so right on track with the audio and tailoring the audio to a client's specific needs. So that is super cool. I have to tell you the story, Lola, because it
Oh,
just triggered when I was talking to you. So Lola went with me, took me through a visualization. So I want to talk
I
about.
loved that. I loved that so much.
It was so cool. So it just triggered a thought when we were talking here about how I met my current lover.
Hello.
And you took me through it, and I remember a piece of it that was about the grocery store, like being in the produce aisle or whatever. So I met this gentleman right before the quarantine. We had met online, but we actually met in person at the Marianos.
Excellent.
And when he was parking the car, he said, where should I find you? And I'm like, in the produce section. And it was really funny because that's exactly where we met, right by the melons. It was hilarious. And like, now that I'm thinking about this, it's like, that's what we created together,
Hmm.
you
Oh my.
know, you know, so, and like, we immediately had this connection. It was just, we had this connection. We walked around the grocery store for an hour and a half because it was like right before the quarantine, where I said, let's go, hoard some toilet paper. It's probably the most intimate aisle, because there's really nothing there. you know and it was like probably to date one of the best dates I've had, just because it was really fun. It was out there, and he bought me a coffee right away. It was just so sweet, and he's still a part of my daily life right now. So,
I
you
love
know,
that. I'm really
yeah,
excited for you.
he puts a smile on my face, that's for
Oh,
sure.
good. I can tell. And the laughter, apparently.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, yeah. And what a great person. So I think that, like, so talk to me a little bit more about the visualization, because I have to tell people that it really, really is powerful. But I have to say too that it took a while, because like you're saying, and I probably could have sped it up a little bit by like listening to more audio that you created for me, you know, um, that I really had some belief systems that were like the right men are out there, just whatever. I mean, the whole 9 yards of, dating that gets you down. Like it just,
All right, I've been there.
like the toad farm is like every like way I would turn, it would be, hey, welcome to Toad Farm. And I'd be like, can I just not be in the Toad Farm anymore?
Don't want the toads anymore.
Yeah, I'm like kind
I love
of
that.
done. But they've also like been a lot of learning. It shaped exactly what I wanted, you know. It would be like next. Some of them were kind of delightful toads, but not a good fit.
And it's the knowing that. I love that. I love your awareness of that as well. One of
Well,
the
and
things
you,
that I really, go on.
well, one of the things you said previously just now is just like, I still had that desire. So if I
Yeah.
had that desire, I meant to have it. And so like, I'm gonna put that in some content, Lola, because I think that's brilliant.
It is. There's something about it too, though. But does that mean if do you think you're meant to play basketball if you enjoy it and it resonates with you? And I think one has to be really specific as to what it feels like within you.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's this desire that's not going away, and you just have a feeling. And when you're thinking about it, when you're visualizing, it can be real for you. And visualization is so, so important. And one thing that I wanted to mention is that I also got my certification when I went through coaching. I also got my hypnosis. So I'm a hypnotherapist as well.
Oh, wonderful. You've got a big,
Yes.
big tool bag.
Yeah, I have some stuff in my tool bags. So what I really enjoy though is being in one and collaborating with the clients about what's possible. There's something about the mind not knowing. So if you tell your mind, oh my gosh, he's so good looking and this is what's going to happen, and you just kind of feel it. And in your body, like when I was thinking about the kind of man I wanted, and I thought about, I can just tell the story about my husband. So I was visualizing, I would think about where we would meet, what we would do with dinner, and then the time that he would propose to me. So in my head, I thought about how great, the first date would talk and close down the place, and it would be romantic, and then he just would not want to leave. He'd want my phone number, and then when I get home, he'd call me again. Anyway, so all of this was percolating, so to speak, in the universe and the divine working on it. And my mind is thinking, okay, he did what? But mind doesn't know what's real and what's not. So I'm on this journey and I'm thinking of what it would be like when I met William and I didn't have a name for him. And I would think about having faith and how I would set the table for two. When I moved into the house, I made sure that I like parked on the very end of like the garage and left space for him. So the mind's thinking, okay, apparently there's some person that's coming. So met William, just that's all we would do, would talk. And I wasn't shy about what I wanted. What's your intention, young man, for dating? What happened in your past relationship? What did you learn from your past relationship? So all of this was really important. Do you want to get married again? And then I go again, and it takes a very particular kind of person, because some men that I did ask the questions would kind of fade away, and then I knew that it just was not for me. So I meet William, and he's delightful. And in my visualization of him, I had visualized that when it was time to get married, he would take me away to this spa and we'd go on a picnic, and He would let me know how much he loved me. He couldn't imagine his life without me. And he would propose. This is my visualization. So William, when it was time to propose, had been kind of talking about it. Maybe we should go find a ring or something. So we go find a ring. Not quite what I had in mind in my visualization, but I accepted it. In my visualization, he would already have a ring, but that's fine. We go along and he says there's some kind of event happening in Wisconsin or Geneva or something. So we go driving and he says maybe we'll stay at a bed and breakfast. So it's a bed and breakfast, but it's not the big fancy spa that I had in mind, and it's not the picnic. It's actually the back garden of this bed and breakfast where we're at that he gets to propose to me. But my mind knew that there was a proposal coming. My mind had thought of, it's going to be away. So there are times when you visualize what you desire because it's absolutely possible. And things conspire in the world to make that happen. And so I'm so full of encouragement. I'm so passionate about this that I want to do that visualization with my clients. And I want the good news of when they call me and say, guess what happened? And that's how it happened.
Well, let me ask you this, because this just popped up in my mind. So I'm going to ask. So like, what would you do for clients who are already in a marriage and a relationship that are struggling? How does that differ? Well, I'm sure it does, but like, how do you give me your thoughts on that? How do you help them turn things around in their own current relationship?
My pleasure to do that because we're all human and we all have our different quirks. And sometimes things come up, and I can use my husband as an example, and delightful and handsome, as lovely as he is, certain things like putting his jeans away, just, or I'll make him a cup of tea and it steps away when he's done in the kitchen rather than put it in the dishwasher, it's in the sink. Smallest thing, doesn't really matter, but sometimes though, I don't get it. And so I think it's all in our minds as well. I have to remind myself, you know what? He makes the bed. He rubs my feet. He makes me lunch. Although I call it twigs and grass when he makes me lunch, though, because it's all about the salads. That's all he does. But I love that. So it's reminding ourselves of the little things that they do that really matter to us. It's time to acknowledge that and not take that for granted. But I believe that we also think of something that I learned in coaching. And it's the first thing is what happened. It's just a circumstance. All he did was not put his teacup away in the dishwasher. Now, really, how does that become a big deal? Depending on what matters to the person. But in your mind, you have to think, you know what? It's just a teacup that he didn't put away. That's all it is. It's just a circumstance. But the thoughts that we have associated with that, oh, he never listens to me. I think that he just takes advantage so I can put it away. So you start to think all this stuff that really doesn't need to be there. And then from the thoughts come how we feel about it. Oh, well, maybe he doesn't feel that way about me anymore. Why is he? The honeymoon stage is over. So everything begins to accumulate from that one circumstance of him not putting the teacup away or whatever it is. But I think in taking our minds through this process, all right, what happened? Teacup not in the dishwasher. That's just a circumstance.
Yeah.
And then what's the thought that we put in with that? Because it's really not that necessary. So there's the circumstance, there's the thought, there's the the feelings that we have about it.
Right.
And then it's taking action. What's the action you're going to take to get back into that space of the world isn't ending? Really, because when you think about it, it's really not that big a deal sometimes. And sometimes it is a big deal. And you do have to have that conversation. I'm a big believer in conversation.
Definitely.
Sitting people down and can be the most difficult thing to do. But at the end of it, you become so close. So you get a better understanding of the other person.
Definitely. Oh my gosh, this has been so cool.
So I really enjoyed talking to you.
I know. So tell everybody what your gifts are, where they can find you.
Well, I'm giving away meditation, and again, it's a generic one for what's possible for you. But the important thing, though, is to personalize it, because no one is the same as everybody else. We may have things that we have in common that happened. We're looking for someone special, we don't know how to find. That's the common thing. But when you get to know someone, you get to find out what the barriers are, what's causing it, and what the thoughts are. So I really recommend an actual discovery. I call it a discovery conversation, a discovery call. So
I
if
like
people
that.
email me, yes, let's discover. If people email me, if you'd like to email me, get more information or get the meditation, that's generic, and also find out more about my hypnotherapy services and coaching, you can reach me at Lola at thencomeslove.co.uk.
Fabulous. I'm
And
going
there's
to
also
put
a
that.
website.
Tell us the website.
It's it's the usual thencomeslove.co.uk.
Wonderful. I'm going to put all this information in the body of our episode so people can click on it and get right to you. And I'm also going to put it on your Psychic Girlfriend website. So,
oh, lovely. Thank you.
And I'll add a button and people can just click right to you.
And also email me old school if they'd like as well.
Yes, absolutely.
There's also a Facebook page as well if they'd like to go play over there. Find out
all right.
more.
So it's fabulous. I will put all of that in in the body of this episode. And it has been so wonderful chatting with you. I hope people take advantage of your talents, because I know that I benefited from your visualization very much. So
I'm so glad.
I might have to come to you and get a little tweaking, but
that would be fun.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
And again, I love you so much. Thank you again for coming to the show. And maybe we'll talk to you again.
I look forward to it. Lots of love to you. And I'm excited about your lovely man in your life. And I look forward to much more.
Wonderful.
Thank you for having me.